Okay, in this video we're going to be drawing both the side pod and the spoiler, that is if you have one, and I'm going to be introducing a drawing tool called spline. So we're going to go over here to our F1 car assembly sketch, right click, let's select edit sketch. Once again we see a grid, so we're now ready to start sketching. Like in the last video, you can use your mouse wheel to roll it forwards or backwards to zoom in or zoom out. Grid will get denser as you move closer. Don't forget you can push and hold down your mouse wheel to actually move the sketch around so you don't have to zoom out and zoom back in. Now, as many of you probably have, more likely you have some type of arc here and possibly an arc here, but once again, if that's not the case, you have different drawing tools like lines as well as arcs. Let me go ahead and start with my two arcs that I'm going to put on the inside of my wheel wells, and like the last video, we're going to use the 3-point arc. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit closer here. As I did with the last video, I typically will start here at the bottom first. I'm going to click once, and then I like to move vertically. And the reason I'm moving vertically is I'm looking at that blue number, and I can pick up my ruler. I can even measure this directly on my drawing. What is the overall height of this part of my side pod? According to my drawing, this has a height of 23 millimeters. So I'm going to go up to the 23 millimeter mark, and now I'm going to move directly over to the left, and that number will increase since I'm moving kind of diagonally now, but that's okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and click a second time on the wheel well. My third click is always somewhere along the wheel well, and I should see that appear. Now I'm going to go ahead and press and hold down my mouse. Let me move over to the opposite side. This is going to be a little bit different in height, so I'm going to go ahead and click once here again. I'm going to move vertically, and this one actually has a height of 22. So let me find the 22 millimeter mark. There it is. Once again, I'm going to move directly over to the right. I'm going to find that point right on the wheel well. It's okay if you're off by just a little bit. It's okay. And now I'm going to move down and find another point somewhere along the wheel well for my third click. Remember, if you make a mistake, do not like what you see, you can hit Control Z. You can always try it again. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Y and bring everything back. Okay, let me zoom out just a little bit here. Let me move everything over and let me introduce something called the spline tool. Now, with the spline, you want to go to the line tool, press the drop down. You have two choices. You have spline control vertex and spline interpolation. I'm going to use the spline interpolation, as you'll see here in just a moment. So let me click here. This is the one I do recommend you use. Now, to make a spline, you can actually make multiple points. So like an arc, you can make points, but you're not limited to 3. I would not make too many points. I'm going to keep this around maybe 3, 4, probably no more than 5 points. I'm going to stick with probably 4 points. So I'm going to have a start point, click, and then somewhere between here and here, I'm going to add 2 more points. Now, different from the arc, you actually just start drawing and adding points along the way. So I'm going to click a second time here, a third time here, and then a fourth time here. Now you'll see that little green check mark, so I'm going to go ahead and select the check mark to then accept that. Okay? Now, what's great about this is that I can actually manipulate these points. You'll notice if I click here, it's red on the line or spline, but if I click on the point or hover over the point turns red. So this is a matter of clicking and dragging, and you can see how I can manipulate the point and even move it over to the left or right as I'm moving the point. Okay? I think you'll find having just 1, 2, 3, 4 points is probably enough. So I'm going to go ahead, as I always has mentioned before, this is a matter of looking at what's on paper and comparing it to what's on the screen. Don't forget you can pick up a ruler. You have a grid here. You can compare what you have here to your inventor drawing. Let's go ahead and add another spline. Once again, interpolation. I'm going to go ahead and click at the top of this point. I'm going to add a few more points. Just add 2 more. 1, 2. So I don't have to be too exact here since I can move things. I'm going to go ahead and end that spline and click the green check mark. Once again, go ahead and click and drag, making sure you're clicking and dragging the point. Now let's be careful here. The thinnest part of a side pod can be no less than 10 millimeters. I can tell that if I count the number of grid spaces here, I'm actually at about 10.5 grid spaces. It should be no thinner than 10 grid spaces. It can be 10, but no less. Okay, so that's acceptable. Let me go ahead and hit the finish sketch. Let me go ahead and hit save. Now, if you don't have a spoiler, you can go ahead and watch the next video. If you do have a spoiler, I want you to keep watching what's next. Let me go ahead and select F1 car assembly, edit sketch. Okay, so for you folks that have a spoiler, I think you can probably figure this out by now. We have a lot of different tools. We have splines, lines, and arcs. I'm going to start by making a line. Somewhere above this, in this area, is where it's located. And I can look directly on my graph paper to really figure out where this needs to go just by using the grid spaces. My spoiler starts somewhere about here, and I'm actually going to go ahead and measure it. Okay, so it starts here. I'm going to click once. I'm going to move in the direction I want to draw the spoiler, and I know that this has a length of 20. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw a second line, 3 millimeters underneath it, so that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, once again, I'm going to go ahead and click once, move forward. Let me type in 20. Okay. Now I also have on this some type of curve or arc here, so I'm going to go ahead and click once, twice, and a third time. And I also have here on the front, I have kind of a sharp point, and I know that has a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4 millimeters. I'm going to go ahead and add that point here, here, finished. That's how easy it is. Let me go ahead and hit finish sketch. As always, let's save our work. In our next video, we're going to start making these parts look three-dimensional. Good job.